All right, this class is being taught by Raven Mayne.
Greetings, my name is Master Raven Mayne. I am a Laurel from the Kingdom of Aidenvelt. I have been teaching many classes over the last decades or so, but a lot of classes since COVID started happening. I've taught a lot luckily, I've been teaching classes over many kingdoms and different venues. So there's one thing that I've been doing consistently over the past 30 years being in the SCA. One of them is being a scribe, and I did that for many years. But then I got into painting on fabric. The other thing that I've been doing is painting full achievements. So I got into it about 15 years ago. One of our friends, my wife's friends, was just doing a demo at one of the libraries, and she was doing, she had her laptop up and she was running a program that had a lot of clip art, and she was designing, you could sit down and design your own heraldic achievement. Me and my wife did it, and after a while we realized that we really liked that process. So since I started painting on fabric and everything, it was a quick step to thinking about doing it for our friends. So I started doing it with a bunch of our friends and stuff. So what I've created here is a PowerPoint that'll kind of go through all of the elements of how me and my wife create full achievement banners for people, or full achievements, full heraldic achievements. One thing I'm going to say over and over again, and I apologize in advance for it, but it's kind of something I try and reiterate in this class, is that you're going to have to check your local sumptuary laws, rules, whatever it is in Atlanta or wherever what kingdom you're from, to find out what you can and cannot have. Some kingdoms have nothing. They don't have anything. You're free to do whatever you want. Other kingdoms have manuals where there's multiple pages on specific awards, specific designs, what elements you can and cannot have. What I believe is that a lot of these, usually in sumptuary or guidelines that are written, are specifically for when you get a scroll and the full achievement, herald achievement that goes on that. So what I'm doing is banners, which kind of sort of falls under the regulations, but not. But I always recommend that wherever you're from, you check first, because I haven't had, like we've joked around before in my past classes, we haven't had a heraldic police that came down and enforced that we were doing something correctly, but or that you couldn't have certain elements on your full achievement. So I'm going to share PowerPoint now. And this is heraldic achievement, coat of arms designed for SCA artists. Now I put the artists on there because to kind of let everybody know that me and my wife are not heralds, book heralds. So this is all from an artist point of view, and an artist, and that's from an artist's eye, and that's how I put everything together. Again, whatever kingdom you're from are going to denote what you can have and what you can't have. I did have at one time a link to something that was on Facebook, I believe, and it listed all of the kingdoms and everything that was written in every single kingdom. But if you know anything about links like that, I went back just to see if they worked, and some of them didn't work. Some of them, went to different places. So you really have to just check what your latest items are, what you can and can't have in your kingdom, from hopefully your kingdom website or your kingdom herald.
I think, don't quote me on this, but I think Atlanta is just concerned with things attached to the various orders and peerages and things like that that can't be on there if the person has not earned it.
Right.
Um,
We do adhere to that. We do make sure that someone doesn't get a banner from us or that we do that doesn't have a, if they don't have a peerage, we obviously don't put those elements on there.
Yeah.
Some kingdoms are really strict on, like, you can only have one supporter. I think it's Meridius, it could be wrong, but there's one kingdom that you can only have, one supporter. You can't have any mantling and our kingdom is, like I said, we gear a lot of stuff to that. We design stuff to, not have anything obviously you're not entitled to, but we try and make it look, like I said, in an artistic way. We try and make it look as best as we can.
Yeah.
So heraldic device, display of items chosen, represent the person. So the heraldic device is, the device that you got passed in the SCA armorial. SCA achievement is full depiction of heraldic items a person is entitled to. So yeah, just this, whatever awards you've gotten or whatever you have is what you should be able to be put on your. A lot of the stuff which I found out, and I don't know, this is generally the way it is, but most of heraldic achievements that are made out there are pretty adaptable and flexible. So once you make one, you could add things to it and take from it. I assume since they've been around in history that that's why they were created that way. So that way you can make one, and then if you get something like a peerage or something or a title in historical terms, you're able to add that to it and modify it later on.
Yeah.
Like historical achievement, coat of arms used to show personal and family affiliations, which obviously that's not where our eyes are coming from, but that's some of the things that we are kind of going through. So when we're designing something for somebody who wants a banner, we use a clip art program that is called the Armorial Gold Heraldry. It's in Canada, but it also works a lot with in their background collecting clip art from England. So they collected a lot of different clip arts from all over England area. We got the Mayne disc. It's kind of pricey. I can't remember how much it cost. It's pretty pricey. But there are extensions or additions that you could get. So you can get like specific ones, like, I believe this has been a while since I looked it up, but you can get ones from like specifically from Spain or France or different areas that had heraldic achievements throughout history and clip art. But the one that we got is basically centered around the ones for England. We talk to whoever we're doing a banner for, and they will say, we'll ask them about supporters and all the things that I'll get into later in this class, and they'll give us all the examples, and then we'll take the clip art and we'll kind of piece it all together. And letting them know the colors don't matter, because a lot of stuff on the clip art has colors already on it. So we tell our clients that not to worry about it, that it's we'll fix all that. As you can see on the right, I found a better cat, and I found the thing on the left. You can notice that's their interpretation of a monkey. I think it more looks like a weasel.
Yeah, it does look like a weasel.
Yeah, so what I did is I found an actual, we went through and Google and different books and stuff, and I found a better monkey and a better cat too. I thought the cat that I actually found, which is on the right. So you can see how I personally, my wife helps me piece everything together on the left, and then I go and I paint everything on the right, using a lot of the techniques that I learned before the SCA and during my SCA with shading and stuff. I have learned since I've been teaching this class that there are a lot of heraldic achievements that are shaded the way I do it, but most of them are not. So heraldic achievement, coat of arms for SCA artisans. So this is kind of just going through the elements. and how we piece everything together. So the main part of it that's in the center is usually the device. The shield shape is usually a general shield shape, but we'll get into the different kind of shield shapes. There's helms that go on top of the shield. Usually they have a crest that usually goes on top. Again, this is just going through the main things that I'm about to show you. So, and supporters, usually living items is what we try and put on either side of the shield. There's the torse, the mantling, compartment or base, the motto, and there's certain add-ons that help with, like, if they wanted to have something symbolize an award or one of their children or something else besides that are supporters. The SE options is the peerage and the coronets. Obviously, if you don't have them, don't put them on there. When we design things, is when we try and balance everything out. So we try not to make one side of the heraldic too heavy. So if there's a bunch of stuff on the left side or a bunch of stuff on one side and not the other, it looks kind of off when you're trying to look at it. So we try and make sure everything's kind of balanced. And the size, we try and make sure everything's comparable. So I might have some examples in here as we go, but I try and, if there's a unicorn on one side and a dragon on the other, I try and make sure they're close to the same size on either side as the supporters, but that all comes within balance of trying to, with our artistic eye that we're trying to do it. And the colors, we try and make sure, all the colors complement the basic center, which is the SCA device. First one is the shield shape. So, pardon me. So most of the shield shapes, usually everybody reverts to the shield shape that you submitted your device on, which now I think you can submit it in a square, but everybody kind of reverts to that because everybody sees that the normal shield shape, which is like the one of our friends in the center there with the octopus. It's kind of like everybody kind of wants that one because everybody recognizes it. But there are lots of different shield shapes all over that you can pick from.
One thing about the lozenge, not all heraldry works well on lozenges.
Yeah.
Mine doesn't.
Yeah,
I've got a chief in battle and you can't tell what it is.
Yeah, the one thing that we do let people know is that usually, historically, lozenges were for ladies. So that's one thing that a lady can choose that usually men can't. So it's kind of something that reserved just for ladies if they want it.
Yeah.
And like you said, sometimes they don't always. We've been lucky so far, but yeah, sometimes it doesn't quite fit. Historically speaking, a lot of banners and flags that were made throughout history that I took a class on, that as long as you have the elements of your device on there somewhere, historically that was what they kind of did. So like for this one with the lion and the checker, sometimes it would have, they wouldn't be together. There would be a lot of checker on the banner and then maybe a line somewhere. As long as you have the elements of it, you can, but yeah, for herald achievements, it's really kind of hard.
Yeah.
I think that's another reason why they don't pick. I've been lucky, even though I promote that it can have any shield shape. Any different shield shapes from the ones that we choose is also problematic. Trying to do something that's unbattled or inflamed or something is really kind of hard to fit, like in the shield shapes, for example, like the one that's in the green, the gold border. I've been able to do it, but it's not easy.
Yeah.
Helms, not everybody wants a helm or needs a helm or anything. But since the way we do heraldic banners is that obviously not every time period had them. So that gives us a challenge. So for instance, a lot of the banners, not a lot, some of the banners that I've done have, Viking helms on there. Obviously in history, they wouldn't have had that, in history. So, but there's a lot of different helms. So if you're a persona or if you like a particular helm, we can make it fit. But there's lots of them. So what sometimes I do if they don't like the ones that we find is I have known to be able to do their actually helm if they're a hard suit fighter, or whatever. I'll do their helmet they actually have in the SCA, or or another helmet. I'll go looking through museum photos or whatever. So try and find something as close as I possibly can.
Yeah.
But again, you don't have to have a helmet if you don't want. The helm with the crest. So the crest is usually on top of the helm. It's a part of a charge or part of one of the charges, which is an element of your SCA device. I have done these in the past. Majority of the times that I do them, when I do it for Pelicans, they usually have the Pelican on top, but I have done pirate ship or Viking ships and stuff like that. This was usually historically they did a lot of this, mostly for parades and things like that, to have some part of your some element of your SCA device on top of your helm. So that's what you can do. But you don't have to have these either. This is just one of the many options that you can have. Sorry about that.
Gina. Yeah.
Protecting, guard dog protecting. So again, you don't have to have the helm. We've had like on the right is a I believe it's called unicorn head hoot, I believe. So you can have that. We've also on the left is our me and my wife's household device with the sun in the background. You can have different things that are up there. So we find this is the kind of, you can have a lot of the options. The one on the right, choose has to draw a mirror. She's a countess, so we're gonna put roses on there on the bottom left of hers. So, but yeah, you don't have to have a helmet if you don't want to. The next is supporters. So we really try and gear those that want banners from us to have supporters. So and to have living supporters. They usually will represent, could be your peer, could be your friend, could be a family member, something that represents them. It could be something that you just like. So if you like, it could be a part of your charge of your SCA device, but if not, it could be, you like penguins, if you like Pegasus, if you like fish, whatever it is, we usually can adapt to it. We only have one heraldic device that we didn't do something living in, but that was just because it was one of the choices. And then we did. He does a gladiator persona, so we did column. So we did Roman column too. But most of the time, we try and gear people towards something living. We desperately try and get two supporters that, at least in theory, could be somewhat the same size. So which again comes back to the balance where things get feel off, like with the one in the center where it has a rabbit on one side and a Pegasus on the other. Now it doesn't look too bad, but it just, once you get the full design, it kind of feels off. So we try and encourage everybody that wants a banner to try and, like I said, with what's really good with mythical creatures is that they could be any size, so we can make them big or small. But when you make it like a rabbit or a fish or something, or a person, it's kind of not always easy, but you can do it. And you don't have to have supporters, but it actually helps balance everything out when you're trying to frame anything. And they could, like I said, they could be your significant other, kids. It could be your household, what they use for a supporter. It could be the baronies that they have, like if they have something part of their heraldry, we can use part of that as a charge as a supporter. The other fun thing that you can do if you decide to have a supporter is the stance. So, and it could be anything in there. Usually they're rampant is one everybody kind of picks because it looks like they're vicious and attacking. So, but you can have it facing. The only thing we do try and do that they rarely did in history that we have found is having the supporter facing away from your device. Our thought is that your supporters are supporting you and looking at you, so we have them facing inwards all the time. For us, it kind of looks, not only looks odd, but we just don't like the supporters looking away from the center. But whatever stance you can pick. So you could pick dormant or passant. The French terms, and I want to talk about this, but you could have them in every kind of style. Like in the left, if you had an owl, you could have an owl just standing or with his wings out. So there's a lot of different options if you pick supporters and what pose you want them in. The Taurus and the mantling, another thing that could be almost any design. You can usually, when we're talking to people on what they want, they usually say, I want the one that looks like fabric, or I want the one that looks like leaves, or I want the one that looks like feathers. That's how we kind of pare down on what choices that they, what they like to have. But when it comes to Taurus and mantling, Taurus is actually in the center there. It's the braided fabric. And that usually sits on the top of a helm, and from that is what the mantling is usually attached to when it comes into actual helms in history, physical helms. If you have a helm, this is what the mantling would be attached to. And they're all usually in the colors of your heraldic device, your SCA device. So they usually are complementing those. So you can see this is just an example, a small example of all of the different kind of mantling you can have, which could be almost anything. So flourishing or not flourishing. And again, you don't have to have it, but it kind of helps with the overall design. The compartment or the base is what everything sits on. So what I mentioned is framing. So when we're designing everything like we try and frame everything. And that basically means we have support on either side. We have a helm, a Taurus and mantling, and a base, and it all centers around your SCA device. So if you pick all these things, it kind of looks like a good grouping. The base, you don't have to have a base, but we do tend to recommend it. You can have grass, dirt. It can sit on a ribbon. It can sit on filigree. You can have all kinds of designs. It could be a stage. It could be clouds. There's many options of what you can do there. So again, there's many different options, and base is just, or compartment is the name to go by that you can pick and choose. As you can see, here's a bunch of them. The filigree on the left. We have done castle walls. On the bottom right is a stage. We've been able to modify it, and everything kind of looks that way. So there's many different options you can have, or not at all. You don't have to have one. One thing we do try and encourage when we're doing banners is that they have when we do full achievement banners, is that we ask them if they want to do a banner for their motto, which is usually, depending on, everybody's has difficulty in one or the other. So with the banners that can go on the bottom, which everything can sit on, and can work as a base or a compartment. We usually put their motto on there, and not everybody's easy to find. You could pick a motto. It could be something, obviously, it could be anything. It doesn't have to be something historical. We usually do them in Latin, but you could do them in any language. We pick the different fonts you can have. We did have one lady who just wanted a symbol. So I put something, designy on the banner, but her symbol was the center. But yeah, the banners could be anything, and they usually go on the bottom of everything, as like I said, in exhibiting as a base or a compartment. So that could be anything too. You could all kind of different designs for that. So we do try and make sure that the banner is, if we get their motto in advance, we try and make sure that we pick a banner that can fit the motto. that's the only time that we kind of work, we kind of have to balance both back and forth. So add-ons are things that are added on besides what the normal things that we just went through. So if you had like a flag from your household, your kingdom, your personal badge, or whatever, we can put it on a pole that one of your supporters can hold. We could put it on a different part of the, we could put it in, balanced inside the base of the compartment. You can, like I said, you can have the supporters, you can have almost anything part of that's on there on your device, and you can kind of add it to somewhere. You can put it on top of, like on the left top of the column, or you can put in. We shy away from putting anything on there that's not at least within the SCA or historical range. So sometimes as long as we can look at it, it looks faux, kind of, we can make it look like it could be okay. For instance, like in the bottom right-hand corner is something from the Star Wars universe that someone wanted on there. We're able to add it to. So not everybody's going to know what it is. That it means.
I started to say that looks an awful lot like something I recognize.
Yeah. So if you know what it is, you look at the full achievement, and you go, hey, I know what that is. But most people,
It's Mandalorian.
Yeah, they'll think it's like part of their, not everybody would know, but it meant something to the person that we do the full achievements for. We, like I said, we try and make it so that it's not obvious, but that's just how we help things when we design things for people. So this is what my wife created to show what too much is.
Yeah. People
will say, give us a list of things that they want. I've only turned down one person who wanted a banner for me. And this is not what they wanted, but it represents kind of something what they wanted everything on there. And I said, I could put majority of it on there, but it's not going to look good. And they didn't believe me. I ended up recommending another artist, and they did a wonderful job. But for me, just is too much. So what happens is it's not, you can look at it, but then you're not 100% sure what to look at. And then it's almost like where's Waldo? And you're trying to find something. Like, did I see something? What is that? And you're asking more questions and not really appreciating the overall aesthetic of the piece. And that's what we kind of shoot for. So like in the bottom right, just by the dog there is basically the kitchen sink. So basically everything but the kitchen sink, or this including the kitchen sink. So we try not to have to have too much. There's a balance in there. And like I mentioned at the beginning of the class, once you do your full achievement and you get something down the road, like you don't have a period yet or a certain a grant of arms or whatever it is, you can add those things in later. So you want to trying to have room for hopefully room for things in the future that you might accolade that you might want to add on to it. So start off with something that's just beautiful in its aesthetics, and then it gives you just give room for the future to add stuff to it. Obviously, if you don't have a peerage or something like that, you don't want to add that to your full achievement, but we usually add like a belt or chain, and it's spurs yet for the knights, the laurel wreath, which could go on almost anything. So it can go around the shield. We've had it going along with coronets. So whether it's a baronial, or if you've been a baron or baroness, or if you've been, a king or queen or a prince or princess, we can add those. I try, been lately been trying the past so many years, trying to make sure that if I can, I will try and add the actual coronet that they get after they step down. So I'm not always lucky in that. So it'll be, or I'll try and add it. I'll try and guess what the best one will look like if they, something that has some part of maybe their SCA device on their coronet. The cornets can go on top of the shield, or they can go, sometimes they put those and or the laurel wreaths around the neck of one of the supporters or in the hand of one of the supporters. So there's different places. You don't have to put it in any particular place, but like in the bottom right, that is their definition of a, we think it's a crane, but that's sometimes their definition of a pelican. So I added different elements to it to make it more visually look like a pelican. So, but you can add the cap of maintenance for pelican or the MOD, where you can add swords in there or whatever. So there's different places and different things you can do with it. So a lot of these things are obviously just for SCA, or if you sometimes in certain kingdoms you can't have mantling if you don't have a grant of arms, or if you don't have an, grant of arms, I think is found of one kingdom. So again, check your local kingdom, make sure what you can and cannot have. But obviously don't put a peerage on anything not peerage.
Yeah.
So again, what I was just mentioning is updating. These are great examples. I have to fix this, but one thing I do is, if, like I said, if you could make your full achievement banner, if you're going to make a banner, you could make it. You can make a camp wall if you want to. If you wanted to, if you didn't want to have a banner, you can make it any size. The size that we make is roughly 2 feet by 2 feet, roughly. Each design is a little different. Sometimes a little longer, a little taller, depending on what they want. But the reason I make these, and I actually have pared down on doing scrolls, is the banners that I make currently, you can hang in your living room. You can roll them up, take them out to camp. You can hang them in your pavilion. They're just more versatile. And even though I used to love doing scrolls, I find this doing this a little bit more joyful, is because they're versatile and they can go anywhere. And most of the time you get a scroll where you do a scroll and it sits on someone's wall and no one ever sees it again. So I feel bad for that, but doing these things I feel get out there more, or more versatile, put in different places and stuff. The one in the bottom right, she is the countess right now currently, and I gave her an embattled cornet. Now, what I've done in the past is, if I've done in the past, sometimes they do reign again and they become a duchess or a duke. So it's really easy to add in the strawberry leaves in there, and that's what I kind of do. Or these, like I said, these ones aren't great showing examples, but the one on the left and the one on the right both became pelicans afterwards, and I was able to put a pelican, put the pelican on the top of both of these helms, but you can see, like in the torso and the mantle, and there's room for that. I forgot where I did the top one on the top right, but I did add some pelican element in there somewhere. But again, trying to make it so it's just pleasing as it is now, and hopefully someday you'll be able to add things on it there if you want to do things like that. So this is the time you have any questions, you can do questions on this stuff, and I can show you while you're contemplating, if you have any questions, I could show some of the ones that I've done. For a lot of stuff.
I haven't done any of this for the SCA, but I have done it mundanely.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I served a number of years as the herald for a family group out of England.
Oh, cool.
And because the arms were no longer being used, because the position faded out a couple hundred years ago, we use it now for the family group with permission. And so I've done a number of theirs.
Yeah, I haven't. I've been approached a couple times, only talking to those talking to individuals that are not in the SCA.
Yeah.
And they wanted to talk about doing something with their family, and that was their family heraldry. And what I've heard is a lot of the ones that commercially that you can get, the ones that you just type in
Yeah.
and you get them, aren't always correct.
No, they're not.
So I'm like, I kind of hesitate on doing it and they're like, well, have you done a lot of research? Is this something that, definitely is part of your family? And they usually kind of bow out at the last minute because it's not really their thing. But I haven't done it yet. So one day, hopefully, maybe they're kind of interesting to be able to do. So I haven't done it yet for that.
About 30 years ago, I was dating somebody who had arms in his own right in the UK.
Yeah.
And he was thinking about submitting that for his SCA arms, his device. And I asked about it and was told that no, we do not do that because he would have to be willing to defend it with a sword.
Yeah. Yeah.
And when I told him that, he went, no.
Yeah. There's actually, I joined two different groups, and one of them is from Canada and one of them is in England, and it's they are non-SCA individuals, but they put together, probably kind of similar to what you were doing. They put together full achievements, and I'm not sure they're doing it for themselves or whatever, but it's under the rules that are currently in place. So they only do specific things, but and
Yeah,
it's interesting to see what they're doing with people's heraldry and stuff like that.
Yeah, in England and the other countries in the British Isles and France, it's registered to an individual. You can't do it for a family. Germany, Switzerland, and Austria, families can use the arms.
Right.
So you have to know where they're coming from.
Yeah. So that's I guess that would be similar to what we do in the SCA, is just to find out what your kingdom's going to do.
Yeah.
What your rules are. So on a personal note, I have MS. So a lot of multiple sclerosis. So a lot of things that I do, I'm kind of pushing myself and learning how to do different things. So one of the goals that I had was I was going to try and do 100 of these. I'm at 98 now. So over the last 15 years or so, I've done 98 of them for 98 different people. So I've been very lucky that I've been making friends all over.
Yeah.
The SCA. So I have one of my banners is now in Perth, Australia, Norway or Sweden, and I have one in England and a couple in Canada. So they're all over the place, and they're all SCA people, and I've kind of been doing them, and I'm trying to reach 100 at least this goal, because what is happening is I'm losing my ability with my dominant hand, and I've been, in the past 6 years or so, I've been learning how to actually paint with my left hand. So I'm getting there. But I've been doing these for a while. So, but I just wanted to go really quick. I only have a few minutes, so I'm just gonna show you some of the ones that I've done in the past. This one he belonged to a household in the 80s called Blue Bear. Again, the line is facing outward. This is kind of what he wanted, but I guess in defense, I guess is what his played it. But and he was a Viscount, so, and we could put and he wanted, I think it was granite, I think it was the bottom. The other thing I've been doing over the years too is they'll pick, for instance, they'll want the heraldic version that we put up there rather than the one that we kind of find. So some of these do have, the original ones on there, so they're kind of, always kind of odd to us. But
some of the heraldic creatures look absolutely nothing like the real life ones or even cartoon ones.
Yeah, and that's why we kind of try and choose one that looks a little bit better. But sometimes they like those. They like the heraldic terms. So this one has waves, and they have seahorse, and the one thing you can't really tell from the pictures is that sometimes I'll use metallics on different metallic paints, or for things, or iridescence, like the dragonfly right on this one, it has iridescent wings. So
Oh,
in,
cool.
in different light, it shines different colors and stuff.
Okay.
Again, these are banners, so they're smaller. So if you're going to do them for a wall, I probably not worth it to do metallics, but
Interesting.
I do. I use acrylic fabric paint for what I do with a paint medium, which is
Yeah.
something you add to it to make sure it's flexible.
Yeah.
I have been testing other brands. So the other one that I use is off the top of my head, I don't know, but I'll pick different kinds of paints that have paint medium already infused in it. They're a little bit more expensive, but sometimes their metallics are better than the regular craft paints because
Yeah.
they're meant for a lot of stuff that we do. But and this one is one I did for one of our friends, Eleonora. One of her friends had passed away, but he always wore this hat, and he had a bear on his device. So we put that was one of the supporters to have the bear with the hat on, and his her husband was his name was something Golden Dragon. So, and they both were count and countess. She was a countess.
Mhm.
She was a countess by courtesy. That's why there's a perennial coronet rather than a countess one. This is for one of our Irish mistresses. This is before I added laurel wreath to hers, but she liked puffins, so I put puffins on here.
Who doesn't like puffins?
Yeah.
They're cute
Um,
and comic.
yeah, I think the one I showed before had the emperor penguins on it. Again, this is one of the filigree. I don't think she ever picked a model, but this is just another one. This is one where I for a few of the banners that I've done, I've kind of put the laurel wreath like hovering above. I don't think it looks too bad, but it was one of the options that we went with, rather than have it on around one of the necks or anything.
You could also have a arm coming out of the crest holding the laurel wreath.
Yeah. Most of the time, hopefully, if they already are a laurel, we put it around the device. But I've had it on the actual helm. I haven't had it on anywhere else though. I've had it in quite a few different places. This one, some of the ones that I do are dual. So these are mirror, they both are pelicans. So I put the pelicans and I put the Capomanians on there. So on both of them, and they were. What was the countess? And what was the? These are one of the older ones that I did. She didn't like the scroll thing, but she let us. She rented to let us put it on there because she was one of those very distracted individuals. So we did it as a. But part of her, she also is very Clan MacLeod connected. She's from the family of MacLeod, so we were able to add some of the colors in there, and I think it's actually one of their mottos is on the bottom that she chose. Again, we do a lot of things that we feel are, if it pleases the person we're doing it for, that's kind of why we do it. So we'll bend things a little bit.
Yeah, that one did scream MacLeod.
Yeah.
Raven, you've got 2 minutes to wrap it up, and then I'm going to have to cut over to the next class.
Okay, no problem. I'll just cut it off on this one. So these are the supporters from here. I got from something off of the internet. So it was something that they wanted archery, and it's part of his persona and a lot of different things. So I kind of added everything that's kind of personal for them. But I like the banner with another motto on it. I kind of like the logo. So this is one of the surprises. So
was that last one for Lark?
I believe so. Yes.
I thought I recognized those arms.
Yeah. Yeah. There was a surprise from My Old Knight, which was Sir Flanagan.
Nice.
He did it as a surprise for him because he felt he deserved a nice heraldic banner. So, but thank you for coming to the class. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
The handout, if you didn't get it, has my email address on it. So just
Okay, let me do that. Let me grab that right quick.
If you have any, it should be in the chat.
It is, but the chat will disappear as soon as it's closed.
And I did send it from the website to all of the students. So I don't know if you were able to get it that way either.
I did not get an email.
Okay. But my email's on there. So if you had any questions or just let me know that this is the class and when you took it, and if I can help point you in a direction, or if you have any questions or thoughts on any of the stuff that I do, I appreciate it.
Okay, I grabbed it. I was
Thank you.
able to grab it. So
Thank you for
All right.
coming.
you're welcome.
Thank
Yeah, I
you for
wanted
the
to see how it
class.
was going. SCA versus real world
Yeah,
display.
yeah,
Oh.
that's totally two different things.
It is.
All
Real
right.
world actually has some more leeway than the SCA has.
Yeah.